Hey everyone, I'm your host, Courtney O'Steen, and you're watching The People Project. Don't forget to like and share this video with someone that you think could find it valuable. Thank you to the incredible individuals who have made this series possible. Without you, there wouldn't be a project. Hey everyone, I'm Courtney O'Steen coming to you with another exciting episode of The People Project. Today, it is my honor and privilege to interview a very special guest and childhood friend of mine who is killing it in her new Nomad lifestyle as a CEO and boss business babe, all while being a mom and doing it under grace under fire, Miss LeiLani.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Courtney. It's an honor to be on your podcast.
Well, I'm really excited to have you here. I love watching your journey online, and of course, the occasional time we do get to connect in person. Why don't you tell us what it's like taking your business on the road?
Oh man. Okay. So it's such a big story. So I'm going to start I'll start at the very beginning. And this is how we both know each other. I was born and raised in Chino, California. And I stayed there until like December of last year. I had a kid pretty young. And so when something like that happens, you don't go too far from the rents, right? So parents are nearby and you're like, please help me with this thing for a very long period of time. And so I stayed in Chino, California. I started a business. We're coming up on our 4th year anniversary, headed into our 5th year. So I'm very excited about that. And it's an HR consulting business. So I started a business, and as life has it, my kid graduated high school, and I, for the first time in my adult life, basically had the ability to go anywhere. I feel like I did life somewhat in reverse. And a lot of people my age are now have like the little kids coming, or they're actually having babies. Mine's almost 20. And so this next phase, I was like, well, like, what do I do with my life? And I had this business already. Now, also what happened is this nasty little thing called a pandemic. So March of 2020, pandemic happens. We all go remote. Most of my team was remote already. Kid graduates high school, and I'm sitting there like, okay, like, what do I want to do now? I had always dreamed of working fully remote in other countries. And I thought that wasn't going to happen until 2025. But because all this was happening, I was like, maybe I can make the shift now. So I took a mini trip in the summer of 2020. I went from Palm Springs to Denver, Colorado to Chicago and back, and took the whole business on the road. And in that time, I decided when I came back, because I go 0 to 100, right? I don't do things small. So I decided when I came back, I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell all my stuff. I'm going to hop in my car, and I'm going to travel the country all of 2021. So I left on Christmas Day with everything I needed, that I thought I needed anyway, packed into my tiny little Mazda Miata. And I've been driving around the country ever since. I'm currently in Seattle, Washington. And if I can draw a mental picture for those who are just listening, I left California and spanned all the South. So all the southern states of the US, down the panhandle of Florida, up the East Coast, and across the top. And now, it's almost October. I'm saying that because October is when I come back to California, and then end my almost year-long, road trip, all the while running this, decent sized human resources consulting firm. I've got 11 people on my team, 12 including me, and navigating that from the road. And what I can say is I get a lot of comments when people will say, like, how do you do that? Like, I wish I could do that. And really, barring what kind of like nest egg you have, what kind of monthly commitments you have financially, and if you're even if you are in a house, and even if you do have kids, because I know people who do this who have kids, the only thing you really need is a roof over your head, some strong Wi-Fi, a really good O-ring light, and a laptop, and that's it. That's all you really need.
What would you say your biggest challenge was at the very beginning of your shift?
Ooh, I was really, really worried that people would judge me for taking this trip. People would judge me for taking this trip during a pandemic. I did get some comments of like, how does it feel taking COVID with you and giving people COVID? And I was like, well, I'm alone. Like, what do you mean? I'm all by myself. And obviously I'm safe and all that fun stuff. So it was the judgment of other people thinking that they would judge me for doing this thing. I thought that the businesses that we potentially would work with, our prospective clients and our clients, would judge that as well, thinking that I am not a serious CEO. I'm not a serious business owner. Very much the opposite. This year, we will, by the end of the year, have doubled our revenue. So that's a big win for us. So there's all these ideas, and I know a lot of us do this, of making up crap in my head, thinking it's going to happen, and it not being the case at all. In fact, doing this trip has been something that has helped me as a person when I talk to my network, when I'm networking, when I talk to prospective clients, where it sticks with them, right? Like, where are you now? The next time I talk to them, because a lot of the times I was moving every single week to a different spot. So that was tough. And then it was, I'm a social person, and to drive away from all my friends and family and go on this thing all by myself, like, I'm pretty cool all alone. But after a couple of weeks, I was like, I'm all alone, like, and in a strange place, and in a pandemic where people aren't out and about and not as, friendly. You can't sit up at a bar and sort of chat with people because it was not allowed for a while. So that was also a difficult thing to transition in the very beginning on being alone.
I love the word I'm going to use for you is brave, because it takes a lot of bravery to not just take an idea and pin it on paper, but actually to put a plan into place, then to commit to the plan and live that plan daily. And I think that's been one of the most freeing and exciting things to watch from the sideline, is watching you take your power as a woman and be able to apply it not only to a dream that you had, but something that is creating a livelihood for you and for others, because you do have a team of 11 other individuals that obviously aren't doing it just for fun. It's something that you chose to be able to monetize. Now, what is the biggest element in communication that you could not run your business with on the road without?
Ooh, there's so many modalities that we use. So we are fully virtual. So I'll talk about tech first, and then I'll talk about me personally. So Slack, it's free, right? So great. It's sort of weird when you first start using it, for those of you who haven't used it yet, but once you get used to it, it's fantastic. When talking about ways to share, we don't use Slack just for business. We have a channel called Fun, where we just put memes and joke. We have a channel called Changing the World HR, where we talk about ways we can impact the community and things that the company's doing. So I really love Slack. We use Trello, which is also free to a certain extent. We set it up like a project board. So there are columns you can set up. And so in there we have, on every single client and us as a company, to do, in progress, done, which has the ability to shoot confetti when you move it to done, which is so much fun. And then
I love that.
I know, it's like, let's put confetti on. We figured out how to do that. I was like, let's put that on every board. So when you move something to done, it like shoots out confetti. And then that's how we communicate on projects. I always make the joke with the team: if you win the lottery and you move to Tahiti, we know what's going on with all of your projects. And then of course, regular email, and we've got some timekeeping solutions that we use as well. And then again, we're fully virtual. So communication as a leader is key. And I will tell everyone, like, even when I think I'm communicating enough, I communicate even more. So, as business owners, people don't know what's going on in our head. They don't know always the big picture that we're always working on. We're constantly like, the business as a whole, and then the little pieces of it. And so they only hear like what you say. They're not in your brain. And so there's a lot of communication with the team. We have monthly all hands meetings where I share with them the financials of the business, the numbers, the percentages, the plans for doing things strategically in the future in every single department, so they're aware. I will also share with them, and I love this piece too. This is a big piece of like openness and vulnerability. I share when I screw up. I share when I'm not feeling well and I need to take a day. I mean, I know a lot of us have worked in jobs where we feel like we have to lie, like, oh, I'm so sick, but you just don't feel good. And you want to have the day off, and you want to do whatever that looks like: in bed with pizza, cry, go have a spa day. And so I tell them that, like, hey, I'm super stressed. I'm going to do XYZ or something like that. And that leaves the door open for them to, and they've done this, turn back around and say what's going on in their lives. And so I've had people share very intimate details about what's going on and needing time off for that. And so I think that's really important when it comes to communication. For us, it's hard as leaders to admit mistakes and to say, I'm not perfect. I'm not superwoman. I'm not superwoman. And so, and then it allows them to also be open and vulnerable to know you're a safe space. So I think communication on tech and then communication as leaders is how I run this, really.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that was one of my biggest learning curves when I started a real estate team, was learning how to communicate with different styles, right? And understanding everyone has a very different need. And I'm going to use my dear friend who is my assistant. We became great friends through our work relationship. But at first I didn't understand because I'm very direct and to the point, and she approaches things a little bit more sensitive. And she has this phenomenal system of how she executes. But I didn't realize when I'm running down a list with her, I'm not telling her what the priority is. So she doesn't know. So she's taking the first item that I give her as line item 1, must be the most important because Courtney shared this with me first. But really, to me, line item 4 was the most important, but I didn't tell her this is our top priority for the day. And we had this great aha moment, or I did really, it wasn't any doing of hers, where she said to me, well, you gave them to me in that order, so I went in the order that you provided it. Had I known that number 4 was most important to you, I would appreciate it if you let me know that, so I in turn can do them in order of importance. And it really changed how I communicated with how I delivered what I needed help with. And it let me learn that I'm not great at everything, because I started taking little jobs that I knew she did. And I thought, oh, it's a time saver. And I'd say, oh, I already did that. And she said, I thought that was my job. Isn't that what you hired me for?
Yeah.
And she said the one time, with all due respect, I do that a lot more efficient than you, and I can do it quicker than you. And now you've cost me time because I have to go back and redo what you did. And I went, oh, okay, well, that's great. And I kind of walked away with my tail tucked in between my legs. And it's so important what you're saying, that we really just need to listen. And then on the mental health aspect, even more so. And I'm so appreciative that you mentioned that, because we don't need to make up a reason not to be at work. And when I worked with Lewis Group of Homes, we had an HR manager there who came from somewhere in the liquor industry. I want to say it was Budweiser, but it may have been Coors. And he said, listen, we just have personal time off. There is no sick time anymore. I don't care if you're in the middle of the ocean on a jet ski, or if you're in your bed and you're truly sick. He goes, I just want you to take that day and say, it's my PTO.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not abusing it, we're happy to let you use the time as you feel like you would.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. Like, and something, I'll chime in with the team is I literally will say, like, it's like a shit show out there right now. And so you need time. I mean, it is, it's just so, to go through the laundry list of what is happening in the world today, it is a lot for one human to process. And then guess what? Oh, go to work now, like with all the stuff you got to deal with. And so I think it's really important to address that too, when the things that are going on. And even if you don't know what to say, that's a great thing to say, and we've done that, talking about a safe space, talking about sharing, talking about doing things. So just this week, so sort of segue, but in my work day, or in my work week, really, I set aside 30 to 60 minutes to do something that has nothing to do with what I do, nothing to do with business, to learn. And what that does is it frees up the brain to think more creatively outside of that. And so I go to these Airbnb experiences. I've learned about pandas, like all kinds of just random stuff to learn about. And it costs, anywhere from $5 to $20 to do it. And so I've been doing this, but I realized everything that's going on. And I was like, you know what? Because one of our core values in this company is fun. So I'm going to invite the team now. Every other time I go, I'll invite them. No strings attached. I'll pay for you. You can come. You don't have to. And so doing that too as a break, telling them, like, this is good for your mental health. this is also good for you personally and professionally when you're thinking, about a problem to solve. If you set aside this time, your brain will have more creativity. So the first one is like Om chanting from some guy in India. And then the second one is Italian gestures and words in a fun game from some gal in Italy. And so I'm doing that too.
Great.
To like lighten the load of life and work, right? Because it's just so heavy sometimes. Yeah.
So what would you say sets you apart from other companies that maybe are completely virtual right now?
I was gonna joke that we're crazy. I shouldn't say that. Like if you check out any of our socials, it's just at Be the Change HR. We do try to inject fun into what we do. Again, that's one of our core values. And so that sets us apart. And not to knock anyone in the HR profession, it is very hard to do. It is a job that nobody wants, right? Unless you choose it like us. So if like as companies scale and grow, I say that because companies scale and grow, and then the bookkeeper gets handed HR and they're like, I don't want this. I got into this because of, accounting. And then we're not the most liked people on the planet. And so we try to like lighten that feeling of what HR does and how they interact with small businesses, because it's very hard to have a small business and follow all the rules and the laws and the best practices, especially in the state of California, Washington State, New York. These states are so tough to do business in with employees. So that sets us apart. And then our team is just amazing. Everyone is a, high level professional, if not former executive, and they really care. And the team cares about each other. It's not something that we have to fabricate in this org. They really, really do care about each other. So the idea that we just have an amazing company culture, and then that trickles down to, what we put out in the world and how we help the people that we work with.
I really love how you've looked at it in a completely different manner, and you have taken it and made it really modern, because the approach of HR has been I'm going to have to go in there and close the door and I can't speak freely. And I don't know how to approach an uncomfortable situation. I love the videos that you do about, asking HR, and it just gives that opportunity really to kind of see behind the curtain, right? And realize that you are a human being too. You deal with similar things that maybe that your employees have, and knowing how to approach it in a more human connection and give them the opportunity to kind of speak freely.
I think one great thing everyone can take away of when you're having a difficult conversation in business or even in your personal life, and I love using this, is to literally say that. So if you have to tell someone they got bad performance, if you have to tell someone they have bad body odor, like that's a tough one, right? Or there's something about the way that they present themselves. I mean, these are very tough conversations, to literally just say that in the beginning. This is going to be a tough conversation. It's going to be tough for me. It's going to be tough for you. So I just want to make sure like we're both prepared, and ask them, okay, are you ready? Because it preps someone versus just throwing the thing at them like we're terminating you. Like, that's not nice. Like say, like, let it, even if you don't like the person, like it's another human being. So the best way is to be like, hey, we're about to have a really difficult conversation. So we want to make sure we're both, in this energetic space to be prepared for this. Like, are you ready? Like, take a deep breath. Okay. I got to talk to you about, your body odor. It's hard to say. So yeah, I think that's a good, like, kind of takeaway everyone can use in difficult conversations.
Definitely. Now, total different question, but relating to what you do completely. As a mom, what has been your biggest challenge and your biggest benefit to doing your business on the road?
So being on the road, my son is grown. And one of the biggest benefits that I've seen in this, not only physical separation, but this growth phase that he's in, that I'm in, is that he just calls to say what's up. And so when this trip first started, I remember he'd call me like, hey, hey mom, like what's going on? Hey honey, like what can I do for you? Like, what do you need? He's like, I just want to talk to you. And I was like, what? Right? Because normally when you have little kids, it's like they want something, right? Or they're asking you to help them with something. And so that was one of the biggest things of, me making this transition and him as he's growing into this man of now we have catch up conversations and we share what's going on in our lives. And what my boyfriend said something to me about, hey, he was joking about, it's hard to get your son, because he has a son the same age, to talk. It's hard to pull the conversation. I'm like, not my kid. Like, I ask him how he's doing, and then there goes 45 minutes. And I love that. Like, I'm getting all teary-eyed even thinking about the relationship that we have now. And then the tough part, and this is also due to what's been going on in the world, is he said he would come visit at several different spots on the way, and he didn't come to any. And it was, pandemic, or I'm busy, and then he fell in love. And so there go, like, so that's been tough. That's been one of the hardest parts, is like, so at one point in the trip, I was like, you know what, I'm going to fly home, like specifically to have dinner with you. I don't care if this is like a $600 dinner, because air flight, and then like, taking him somewhere nice. But I was like, I'm coming back to just see you. And so I did that. And so that's the toughest part, is not, being able to see him all the time.
And what would you say has been the most important part of the journey for you as an individual, for you as a woman, business completely aside?
Yeah. Man. Oh, I knew when I was setting out on this journey that I was doing it solo, that I had set in different things I decided to do. Like, I quit drinking, which was a big thing. I just didn't like the relationship that I had with alcohol. And so I decided I'm going to do that. I did that like most January 1st, I got BetterHelp, which I love. So I was like, I'm going to meet with a counselor every single week, which I'm still doing that. I had a couple other modalities of coaches and people I was going to work with, because I wanted to sort of do this like healing growth process. And I was just talking to my boyfriend about this just yesterday, in coming, like, because I'm literally making a loop around the country, and in driving back to California, I do not feel like I am anywhere near internally this. I mean, I look the same, but I'm internally the same woman that I am when I left. And it is from feeling more empowered, to feeling more peace, to having a better daily routine, to less pounds on me. I mean, you name it. And that's the biggest thing I got out of it, is I set out to heal and to grow. And I have done that exponentially. And on top of everything else, I fell in love along the way, which is a whole other story. And I found my person. So that's just, I mean, I got what I asked for, but I put the tools in place to make sure that I achieved what I wanted in a very holistic and healthy way. So it's been amazing.
Oh, I'm a tad bit envious of where you are right now. Not in the globe, in life, as far as the freedom to be able to pick up and go, I think is such an amazing gift. One of the things I find that paralyzes women so much is the title of being a mom and a wife, from doing things that have always led them some sort of excitement in their heart. And I've always told my daughter, who's now 21, almost 22, that's so depressing, but that she has one life, and to take every adventure that she possibly can. And we always joke in the house, and my husband said wholeheartedly not too long ago, I think she'll be the kid that lives in another country and just come visits us every now and then. And I had to ponder that for a moment and thought what that really could look like for me. And then I remembered it wasn't my life. And that's the beauty of it, because we're given one opportunity here on earth, and we really need to do the best to serve our soul and be kind and good and leave a little bit of us imprinted into the world. If you met somebody today that was hesitant on taking a personal growth journey, whether that just be a brave week by themselves or a brave year like you've done, or just changing one habit that they had that reserved them, what would that piece of advice be?
It's along the lines as, what you were talking about. We only get, as far as we know, we only get this one life, right? And it is infinitely small. And, and we all have come across that person that says, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have, and it tends to be later in life. And so I just say, go for it. Like, as long as you have, your safety, you've got, enough to put a roof over your head and feed yourself, you can do it. You can just do it. And so I would encourage anyone to take small steps. So, I mean, it could be as small as having dinner alone. And maybe that is even the start, to be comfortable enough. Because I used to do this like years ago, sit at a restaurant. I put a ball cap on because I don't want anybody to like see me. But, sit at a restaurant alone and have dinner by yourself without your phone. I approve books, but without your phone, and really be comfortable like that. Because that can translate into a road trip on the weekend just by yourself, and go find an adventure and do the thing you always wanted to do. If you look at the world in terms of even a car ride, a 4-hour flight, you could be in a different country. A 12-hour flight, you definitely are in another country. So the world is small. And so I just encourage everyone, take proper steps. For women, there's always things we can do to be safe. You want to get an Airbnb, you can always check the profile and see if it's a family. Something that I've done along the way is I let the people that I stay with when I travel internationally know that I'm a single female traveling alone, and I chose them because I want to be safe. And so I've even had Airbnb hosts, when I didn't come home by midnight, message me and ask me if I'm okay. So there's all sorts of things you can do to make sure, because it can be scary as women. I've, experienced stuff on this trip, but there's safety precautions that you can do. And really, like, there are no boundaries. Like, do the crazy thing that you want to do. I fully encourage it. Like, I'm just gonna drive around the country for a year, and I go rock climbing and ice climbing and all this fun stuff. And I'm going to do these things until my body will not let me anymore. So I'm just a huge fan. If you want any encouragement or any ideas on how to do these things, I give you all an open invite to privately message me, and I'll talk to you about it, because I really think it could enrich this one very short life that we all have.
Amen to that. And I really appreciate the invitation and permission that you've granted. I talk to so many different women that feel like they need someone else to tell them. And it's like, no, this is your life. It's not mine. Write your chapter however you want, girl. And if you didn't like it, guess what? Turn the page, write a new one. So with that invitation extended, what are the best ways for people to connect with you on social?
Yeah. So you're more than welcome to find me on Instagram. My name's hard to spell. So it's at LeiLani Grams. So LeiLani Grams, Grams. Our company is Be the Change HR. We are on every single social media platform. But if you do want to, that open invitation, if you do want to talk to me, just message me on Instagram, and we can start talking about how you can do whatever crazy thing you want to do. I fully support and encourage it.
I love that so much, LeiLani. And before we wrap up today's message and episode, I wanted to ask you, because I love watching LeiLani travel, where in the world has been your most incredible trip? And what was your favorite thing that you ate while you were there? Because I know you're a foodie like me.
I am. I'm gonna stay, because this is like the US trip. I'm gonna stick to that. So my favorite place I visited was Fort Morgan, Alabama. I don't even think that would have been it. It's like a spit of land that's only 1 mile wide, and it's got the Gulf of Mexico on one side and then a bay on the other. And it has these dispersed, beautiful houses on stilts and beautiful white sand dunes on a beach. And it's just very rustic. There is nowhere to eat there. So it's like so remote, but I loved it so much to work during the day and then step out into the sunshine on a beach, and just, it was amazing. My next is Maine. And Maine was exactly, I don't know if anyone has been there. If you haven't, it's exactly what you would imagine. It's like beautiful, like inlets and trees. And I even saw a guy who looked like, literally, he had like a white beard, and he had like one of those pipes sticking out of his mouth with a flannel on. And I was like, I'm in Maine, right? He looks like a guy that comes from Maine. And just lobster rolls everywhere, anywhere. I ate so many. Someone told me they were inexpensive there. That is not true, girls. That are $25, but worth every penny. And so that was my favorite thing I ate, was like having a lobster roll, several times a day while I was there up in Maine.
Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to check out the places that you have shared. And again, I mean, who would think of a remote place to be one of your most memorable places that you've traveled to? I find the older that I get, the less that I need all the things around me to feel like I'm engaged. I like to kind of remind myself of what it was like to see the world through the eyes of a child. And it's that just pure wonder, right? They look at something for the first time and they're in awe. And when we do tuck away our phones, to piggyback on something you said earlier, it just really gives us an opportunity to engage in all the beauty that's around us. Did you have any words that you wanted to leave our listeners and viewers with today?
Oh, to continue to talk about doing that one thing. I just, again, if we're able-bodied, I really think that everyone out there should do that dream that they've been thinking of. Just go for it and just take small steps. It's one step at a time. I don't know the full quote by Tom Hiddleston, but you take one step at a time, and then all of a sudden you look back and you've climbed a mountain. And that is so true. That is so true in life. That is actually true in climbing mountains. Just one step at a time, and you can get that thing that you want. You can do that amazing trip that you want. So I just encourage everyone to follow your dreams, take that trip, tell that guy you like him, like whatever the thing is, I encourage you to do it. Do it now. Like, you're thinking about it. So just do it.
I couldn't have had a better time interviewing you today. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time sharing what it's like to be a Nomad CEO, boss babe. And I would love to have you back to talk a little bit more about traveling tips that you have, if you would be interested in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have joined another great episode of The People Project. Don't forget to be beautiful, be blessed, but most of all, to be you. Have a great day, you guys.